Have you ever been mid-corner and you faced a hazard on the road? Could be gravel, a large pothole, or worst case is a car drifting into your lane. This week on MCrider, we'll look at mid-corner adjustments, and I'll give you 3 techniques to deal with them. Hey, my name's Kevin, and I release a weekly video here on MCrider that focuses on road skills and road strategies to help make you a better rider. Speaking of road skills or strategies, check this out. This is the newest design in the MCrider apparel store, and it has the focus of the channel on the back, road skills and road strategy. So let me get turned around for you. Hopefully you guys can see that. Road skills, road strategy on the back of it. Those are the keys to success, in my opinion, for you, those of you out on the road. And now you can plaster it to the back of your t-shirt, and it'll help remind you to stay focused. And it might even be a discussion starter the next time you're out at a bike night. So go to mcrider.com/shirt if you're interested in buying the newest shirt in the MCrider apparel store. Wonder how many MotoGP fans are in this audience. I know I'm one, and I've been to the track in Austin, Texas, and watched some of the best racers in the world battle it out there on the track. I also subscribe to the MotoGP online races so I can watch the races online, since I have a hard time finding their broadcast here in the States. But one of the cool things about subscribing online is you get a lot of behind-the-scenes information about what's happening on the track and some of the techniques that the riders use. I heard a former racer who's now a broadcaster talking about brake, throttle, and lean angle use, and his comment to me was pretty incredible. He said that these guys on the track, their goal is to be at 100% on the throttle or 100% on the brakes, or using 100% of the lean angle, or a combination of those skills that equals 100%. So in the straightaways, they're going 100% of throttle to get to maximum speed. When they're braking, preparing for a corner, they're at 100% of their braking power to get the bike slowed down. And as they start to lean the motorcycle into the corner, they're trailing off the brakes, but they're replacing the braking with lean angle. So as they release the brakes from 100% down to 95, that gives them 5% of lean angle that they can add to the corner. So they're always riding on that very razor-thin line of keeping the bike under control in order to make the quickest laps possible. We know that riding at 100% on the street will eventually lead to a crash. There are also other factors that come into play. My skill as a rider comes into play. My motorcycle may be able to make that corner at 45 miles per hour, but if I don't have the skills to make it through, then I'm riding above my 100% of skill level, regardless of what that motorcycle may be able to do. I always encourage riders to ride well within their comfort and the bike's ability to handle the conditions and have room for all of the unknowns that we face out on the street. New riders are taught to do all of their slowing prior to the corner. It's that look through the corner, press on the handlebar in the direction that you want to turn, and slowly roll on the throttle to accelerate through the corners. If this is followed and practiced on a regular basis, it's a great starting point for new riders and experienced riders, for that matter, who are looking to hone their cornering skills. But what happens when the pace increases and there's something mid-corner that we have to account for? When it comes to cornering, speed and lean angle are inseparable. If you want to make the corner faster, you're going to have to lean more. If you want to take the corner slower, you'll have to lean less. That's why we should always ride with some reserve left and not ride at that 100% on the street. If I'm riding at a pace that leaves 40% of traction in reserve, I have some margin to increase my lean angle or to adjust my line through the curve. So what if we're out riding through the curve and a hazard presents itself? There are 3 basic techniques that we'll discuss here to help you deal with those situations. The first technique is to slow while leaning by either decelerating, by rolling off the throttle slightly, or gently using the brakes as we reduce our lean angle. Maybe the corner's tighter than you thought, or there's something in the road like gravel and you don't want to hit it at your current lean angle, but it would be okay to go over it with the motorcycle more upright. This works well if you need to make minor adjustments and works less well if you're at maximum lean angle. Our second technique is to straighten and stop. In this method, you're straightening the bike completely, and then you're applying maximum braking while the motorcycle is straight up and down to a complete stop or to a point where you can complete the corner. Now, this is probably the safest method as you're not having to manage lean angle and brake force at the same time. And also by slowing down, it buys you time to evaluate the hazard for the best course of action. So it buys you some time as well. The downside to this is it requires time and space to do so, and you need to be aware of what's happening behind you so that you don't get rear-ended. This is a great technique to practice, and I have a training exercises in the field guide to help you develop this skill. The third method is something we'll call turn straight turn. I never have heard a formal name for it, and it looks kind of ugly out on the street, and it's not for the faint of heart, depending on the hazard or the speed at the time that you need to use it. And this is good for making some minor adjustments to a corner. So let's say I'm making a right-hand turn and some hazard sneaks up on me. I can initially turn sharper than I need to by pushing more on the right grip, then straighten the motorcycle up and ride to the inside or the outside of the hazard, or possibly straight over it, depending on what the hazard is. But then I have to make another fairly sharp turn to keep the motorcycle from running wide. So let's demo that. I'm approaching this corner, right-hand corner. I've got the motorcycle leaned over. I look through the corner. There's that hazard. So initially, I can push harder on the hand grip to get the motorcycle to lean more, straighten the motorcycle up. I get past the hazard, but now my alignment is wrong to get through that corner, so I'm pushing hard again to get that motorcycle through the rest of the way through the corner. You can use this same technique to go to the inside or the outside of the hazard, depending on where it is in the road, and depending on how fast you're going and how much room in the corner you have to work with. Now, some words of caution concerning mid-corner adjustments. Concerning traction, even under the best circumstances, one has to be cautious about how they put load on the tire. A motorcycle tire can handle a lot of load, either braking or leaned over in the corner or accelerating, much more than most riders are comfortable with out on the street. But what it does not do a good job of is handling an abrupt load. So if you grab the brakes or you're jerky on the controls, expect the tires to have a difficult time keeping up with you. You can be fast with the controls and still be smooth, but what you can't do is treat the controls like an on-off switch. That's a recipe for disaster. I would also not be doing my job if I don't mention this. If you're frequently having to make mid-corner adjustments, it's more likely that the problem is with your head and eye placement, not looking far enough ahead and not looking through the corner. In fact, if you ever have to make a mid-corner adjustment, ask yourself that question: was it possible for me to see that, or did I get lazy with my head and eye placement? A lot of times it's our head and eye placement that's the problem. It should be the exception rather than the rule that something catches you off guard in a corner. I also have exercises in the field guide to help you work on head and eye placement through a corner, and so you can develop this technique until it becomes habit. But without a doubt, this is one of the most frequent bad habits that riders have on the road. New riders and experienced riders alike look through the corner, see what's ahead, and it makes it much easier to plan well in advance for the exceptions than to avoid the hazards at the last second. Till next week, guys, it's Ken with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road. There are multiple ways to support the channel. You can become a member on YouTube at mcrider.com/member, or support the channel through Patreon at mcrider.com/support. Either way, you'll get full access to the forum and the field guides, which will further the training that we release here on a weekly basis.